Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Just got back and I wanted to do another video tip today about patience out on the road and give you two different tips you can use for defensive driving that'll help keep you safe and help prevent, additional damage on your vehicle if somebody gets in an accident in front of you or around you. And stay tuned towards the end. I'm going to do a bonus tip on something that I like to do at stoplights that I think is really helpful. So check out these tips. Okay, so there's kind of two schools of thought when it comes to defensive driving or, kind of driving patiently out on the road. And really what I'm talking about today is follow distance. So the first method that I want to talk about having to deal with following distance is kind of the more common one that I've seen a lot more, and that's the one that's decided by car lengths. And really kind of the rule of thumb with the car lengths version is that you keep a car length for every 10 miles per hour of speed that you're doing between you and the car in front of you. So if you're going 60 miles an hour out on, a highway or a county road or something like that, you'd want to keep 6 car lengths between you and the car in front of you. And that just allows you to have, an ample buffer for safety. Should they have to slam on their brakes or should something happen in front of them, you'll have time to react to that. The only problem with this method is that a lot of people are not very good judge on what a car length is, especially when they're going at speed. That's something that's kind of hard to tell. And so that's where the second method that I want to talk about comes into play. All right, so the second method is actually a little bit easier to do, and I kind of like it a little better. On a training course I took for work one time, they taught me this method, and I've seen it mentioned on the internet, but not as common as the car length one. And that's called the 2-second rule, or the 3-second rule, depending on what state you're in. Some of them call it something a little different. So basically how the 2-second rule works, it works at whatever speed, first of all. So it doesn't matter if you're going 60, or if you're going 40, or if you're going 20. The idea is to keep 2 seconds between you and the car in front of you. And it's a lot easier to figure out than the car length method because you don't have to judge distance with your eyes. All you have to do is pick a point on the side of the road, like a sign, a fire hydrant, a billboard, a tree, anything like that. A fixed point on the side of the road, and when the car in front of you passes it, you begin to count. And when you pass it, you stop counting. So if the car in front of you passes a sign, for example, and then when you pass it and you only counted to 1.5 seconds, you need to back off a little bit because your follow distance isn't appropriate. If you're over 2 seconds, that's fine. That's just more safe. But you could also, keep in mind that you could be holding up traffic a little bit at that point. Or, if there's traffic behind you, something like that. But generally 2 or over is a good distance. And this method is a lot easier to use because it only takes, 1 to 5 seconds to, figure out what your follow distance is. Especially if they're, out on the highway, there's road signs, a speed limit sign, something like that. All you got to do is see when that car passes it and then count until you pass it. It's very, very simple. It's very easy. And 2 seconds will give you a pretty good buffer in case that person in front of you needs to slam on their brakes. It'll help allow you to react in time. And hopefully the people behind you, if there's people behind you, are using the rule also. That way they can react and slam on their brakes. And this will just prevent, pileups and additional damage and accidents when one incident occurs. So that's the two methods I've got for you today, the car length method and then also the 2-second method. So which one of these methods are you going to go out and use? Comment below and let me know if you like to use the car length one or if you want to try out the 2-second one. And for today's bonus tip, there's something I like to do at stoplights that I think is a little bit amusing, but it's also great for safety. And when I'm pulling up to a stoplight, behind a car, I like to put the wheels of that car right on the top of my hood to where they're just touching when I look at it. And what that does is it just gives a little bit of space between me and that car in front of me in case somebody behind me is coming in too hot and they slam into the back of my truck. It'll give a little bit of room so I don't damage the front of my truck also. And the amusing part of this is that I like to, when I pull up to a stoplight, I'll stop with those wheels, right on the top of my hood. But if you watch, and this happens a lot, just give it a try today when you go out and drive around. Just stop and then, hold that spot. Don't pull forward anymore. A lot of people like to inch forward as they're waiting for the light to turn green. And this is actually a little bit of a safety hazard in and of itself because if you start to inch forward even though the light's not green, if somebody behind you is texting, wasn't paying attention, they may think that the light is full on green and they could accelerate into the back of you. So I like to just stay put once I stop. You know, obviously if you're in a right lane and somebody turns, you know, you kind of want to make up that distance, that's fine. But, you know, in general, kind of try and stay put. It's a little bit safer. But the amusing part to me is I'll stop, you know, at that distance that I talked about with their tires on my hood, and then I'll just wait. And it's really interesting to see sometimes how far the line will get ahead of you from where you initially stopped. Just try it out, see how much the line bunches before the light turns green. That's something fun I like to do, but, you know, it's also a good safety practice to do. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was kind of a quick tip on patience and, you know, driving a little bit more safely, defensive driving. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and definitely subscribe to the channel, because I'm putting out tips like this about, you know, informational content, educational content, and then car hacks and tips that you can do at home to help your ride, you know, be smooth and clean and all that. So check them out. I've got multiple videos up on the channel. Just, you know, click any of the icons wherever they may be and check out some of these other videos, guys. Anyways, thanks for watching and happy wrenching out there.